2010 with responsibilities for all the channel activities. Formerly, he was the VP of North America Channel Sales at Promethean, one of the leaders in educational classroom technology. Before Promethean, he spent 1 year at Deltec as VP of Worldwide Channel Sales Alliances, where he was responsible for channel revenue, partner programs, and recruiting. Taylor holds a BS degree with Yale University, and in June 2005, Taylor was the American Business Award Sales Executive of the Year. Based on his channel advocacy efforts, he was named a top channel executive by VAR Business Magazine and named the CRN magazine's list of top 50 channel champions for the past 3 years. In 2010, 2008, 7, 6, 5, 4, and 1998, he was named top 100 most influential people in the accounting professionals by Accounting Today magazine. He was named Technology Star by Accounting Technology magazine in 1997. And Taylor is a frequent speaker on VAR industry issues and is recognized expert on the SME market. Taylor serves on the board of directors for the Information Technology Alliance and is a former board member of the Southeastern Software Association, where he served 2 terms. So without any further ado, I'm very pleased and proud to announce Taylor McDonald as our speaker. Take it away.
Thank you, Estelle, and boy, does that make me sound either experienced or old. So we'll go with experienced. Today we're going to talk about, as the title slide says, best practices in building an effective SaaS partner model. I've spent the last 4 years building a channel from scratch here at Intact, and I'm going to take you through some of the things that, that we've learned and hopefully be of value to all of you. So I love this cartoon because here's this homeless guy who couldn't get his head around cloud computing, and it'd be even better if it said couldn't get his head around cloud computing and channels, because certainly on some days that's the way we all feel. So our agenda is very compact. First, a quick overview about Intact, the role your partners will play, partner recruitment, partner enablement, cloud economics and the margin chasm, and then some key takeaways. So for those of you who don't know Intact, we are a financial and accounting software SaaS-only company focused on the mid-market, from companies between 20 and 1,000 employees, 10 to $500 million in revenue. This is a market that has traditionally been dominated by on-premise solutions like Sage, Microsoft, and the like. We've got about 7,300 plus customers, 40,000 entities at any one time, somewhere between 100 to 200,000 people using our SaaS system. You can see here a wide variety of our customers and the like who use Intact on a daily basis to manage their businesses. Get the slides to work. So last slide about Intact. We've had a great run over the last 15 years, top-rated workplace. We are endorsed by the AICPA, the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. We're the only accounting product that they endorse. We've won tons and tons of awards, including CRN's 5-Star Partner Award program winner, and a whole host of others, and we're fortunate enough to be backed by literally a who's who of investors. So a little bit about the channel efforts here at Intact. So Intact was, again, born in the cloud almost 15 years ago. The channel was started 3 years ago, 3 partners, less than 5% of the business, and a business that was primarily sold direct. Today, in 3.5 plus years, we have over 80 partners, and 45% of the new business comes from the channel versus back then 100% of the business was coming through a direct sales team. We've grown the channel team from 2 people when I started to 14 today, and I'm happy to talk about it at the end, but one of the things that's great is that we do have a very successful hybrid sales model with a strong rules of engagement. The direct team here at Intact gets paid when partners close deals, so it tends to work very, very well in terms of collaborating with our partners. Sage and Microsoft have helped us a great deal because as they've continued to downsize and get rid of channel folks, we've hired many of those people. Last quarter was an amazingly great quarter, 93% plus year-over-year growth in bookings. We've been averaging somewhere between 50 and 100% a year growth, and our fiscal 15 has just started July 1, and again, we'll be looking for something on the order of 75% year-over-year growth, so very exciting. So when I came into Intacct with a very small number of partners and obviously a very immature channel partner program, we started from the very beginning. And so some issues as we started to consider building a channel and more importantly building out a complete channel program was asking ourselves a number of questions. So clearly in our case the role of partners we're going to play, we're going to be reselling our software and implementing it, but that's different in every business, and I'll share some thoughts on that in a minute. Many people who are building a SaaS channel are building it on top of an existing on-premise solution, so they have existing partners that they have to transition to the cloud. With that, when we start talking about bringing on new partners is relatively easy. Enabling them to be successful is incredibly hard, and I'll share some thoughts on that. We've made that the most important area at Intacct. Needless to say, partner economics and more importantly salesperson economics become critical things to consider. Gaining partners' mind share overall is important. We have some very successful partners that we've recruited that have not done very little with Intacct, and lots of it is the inability to get through and gain mind share with them and get a champion inside the firm. So the takeaway here is real simple. If you're going to revamp your on-premise channel program by simply adding a cloud offering, you're not going to have much success. You really need to start with a clean sheet of paper, blow it up, and I'll take you through those things here this morning. So one of the things that's most important to understand is that when we start talking about software as a service, there are a lot of partner business models. As you can see here in this Venn diagram, our folks are primarily in the cloud VAR model, but somebody could be a cloud broker, they could be a builder, they could be an integrator, they could be a SaaS provider, they could be a hosting provider, they could be a traditional VAR solution provider. There are a number of places that people could be, and in many cases they'll have multiple roles. Our partners in many cases do integration between cloud products. They also do customization work on our platform as a service. So while the majority of our partners might fit in the cloud VAR quadrant there, the little odd-shaped space there, they also do a variety of other things. So incredibly important as you go and build a SaaS business partner model to understand where people fit. This to me is one of the most valuable slides that I have seen. It comes from Diane Krikora at Partner Path, formerly Amazon Consulting. And what's important about this is to understand the role that your partner might have. And you can see the partner revenue opportunity on the left, degree of partner functional involvement on the bottom, and then as we go up to the far right corner, that being the most valuable quadrant. So at the bottom left, I might have a sales agent or affiliate. That's somebody who brings a SaaS solution into a prospect that hopefully will soon be a customer. They're not going to make a lot of money. They may make a one-time fee, finder's fee, or a one-time margin. The next step up is obviously the sales agent, may provide first-line support, training and education. Our partners certainly fit this mode, but implementing accounting software, financial software is different and more complex from a standpoint of knowledge. Requires people to be very fluent in accounting, very fluent to be in business process. So our reseller probably has a little bit higher revenue opportunity, higher margin structure than most. You walk up a little further to infrastructure service providers, system integrators. These are people that are certainly much more technical in nature. They have more functional involvement and higher revenue. And then at the far right, obviously the ISV, our partners, are also doing that as they are doing system integration. So the important part about this slide is to understand that as you go up the from bottom left to top right, economics for the partner are going to change significantly. At the bottom, one-time lower margins. At the top, higher margins and recurring revenue year after year. So one of the things that we also spent a lot of time on is trying to figure out what the sales model for our partners were going to be. Trying to answer the question, how does the customer want to buy? Certainly some of our customers want to buy from us over the phone. We've got a small direct team that does it. But you have to answer these questions. You know, what's the product? Where does it fit? Who's the target customer? How do they want to buy? Do they want to work with a partner? What's the partner's value add for doing that? And will that make a difference in how a customer wants to buy? So let's go into the very first part, which is partner recruitment. It's incredibly challenging, not only because partners are always reluctant to take on new products, they also understand how expensive it is. They also have, in the past, taken on new products and have not been successful with it. So it's very, very challenging. And not only that, of course, many partners are stuck in the on-premise world and slow to shift to the cloud. So there's 2 or 3 options here. Obviously, we can convert existing partners if we have an on-premise product. We can recruit current cloud-only partners. So these are people that are selling other cloud products. We can recruit them to sell our product. We can go recruit on-premise partners who are selling competitive products. And finally, we can go find non-VARs serving the SMB. So in Intact's case, we didn't have any current existing partners because we have no on-premise products. So we've spent the time recruiting current cloud-only partners, on-premise partners who might sell Sage or Microsoft products, and we are now searching for non-traditional VARs serving the, or non-VARs, non-traditional non-VARs serving the SMB market. So we've signed up a firm that does consulting, has about 100 people that does consulting for finance organizations in the middle market. They'd never considered being a VAR before, but they found that by having a product offering that they were had the ability to have larger engagements, sell more, make more money, greater share of wallet. So important things here are recruitment takes a lot longer than expected. People are going to kick the tires, they're going to get involved, they're going to take a look around, they may go to the sideline and then come back. So while there's certain people that will sign up immediately, many of the people that you want will certainly take a long time. The other thing is that what we've seen certainly in the accounting world is that it's dominated by white males over 40 who are in not necessarily wind down phase, but don't have as much energy as they did. We call those low T partners, and they struggle with the urgency to add another product. They struggle with cloud economics. They struggle with adding another product. So again, it takes a significant amount of time to get these folks on board. We found that by having partner recruitment events regionally, where we bring in our management team, that this is a very effective way to recruit partners, because they see the excitement. We bring in existing partners. They have an opportunity to ask questions of the executive management team, and tends to be a good opportunity. So let's assume that you've been successful in recruiting new partners. Now the hardest part in my mind is upon you, and that is partner enablement. When we talk about partner enablement, think about it as I've just signed somebody up, and they say, okay, what's next? And we've built a complete playbook for helping our partners get to the next step, which is to become a fully functional, competent reselling partner of Intact. So with this playbook, we set the expectations of what the partner should expect from us, what we should expect from them, as well as all the things that will happen during the first 30 days, the first 60 days, the first 90, and the first 120. While today we have a large channel executive or channel management population that's out in the field working with partners, we've taken away partner enablement from those channel executives. Early on, those channel executives, in addition to working with partners on transactional work, also did partner enablement. And we determined that it was more important to have dedicated partner enablement resources that would stay with new partners for the first 6 months till they graduated. Sometimes it's 8 or 9 months until they graduated, and then those partners that graduated, and those new partners that graduated would then be aligned back to a channel executive in their geography or in their vertical market. So very, very hard. I would tell you it's the single most important thing, and most folks that are building a channel don't put the resources that are needed into partner enablement. So the things that are important, obviously, are getting that partner mind share, getting them to training, onboarding them with the systems that that are in place to whether they're registering leads, whether they're placing orders, whether they're looking at the tools, looking at the marketing resources. All of that we consider onboarding. So we onboard based on product, we onboard based on lead generation pipeline building, we onboard based on marketing, we onboard based on owner expectation and owner economics, so that we get buy-in from a variety of the owners that this is a great opportunity. Clearly, helping partners build a pipeline is the most critical activity. We haven't got this one completely knocked out, but we have to help our partners build a pipeline, because the time to first and second deal is an important milestone in new partner success. If somebody comes on, you graduate them, and at the end of 9 months they have not closed their first deal, or more important, their second or third deal, you're going to perhaps have to re-onboard them at some point. They may have to go back through product training, and all of that is incredibly expensive, and you risk losing mind share. So getting partners to their first and second deal, incredibly important. I'd also add that in our case, sales training is completely different, and we've taken this to really a very deep level of complexity. So we have some basic sales training that's delivered via a webinar that's incredibly important on positioning and the like, selling cloud applications. But we also have a demo champion program that teaches our partners how to demonstrate our product. And then we have a 2-day sales business building conference where we take them through all the different steps of the sales cycle, all the tools that are available within Intact. What's important is we have to train partners on return on investment. We have to train partners on how to educate their prospects on total cost of ownership, because when somebody comes in and says, hey, you can pay me $25,000 every year for Intact, or I can go buy Great Plains for $25,000 plus maintenance at 20% a year, people aren't going to think that paying $25,000 a year is a great deal. So educating partners and educating them on how to educate their prospects on total cost of ownership is incredibly important. We've also found that having mutually agreed upon closing plans from a partner to a prospect are incredibly important to end up with either a yes or no instead of a no decision. So this partner enablement piece is incredibly important. We've hired a former partner to be involved in this area. We've just added our second person in this area, and like the first, has a tremendous amount of experience with the SMB market, with the accounting software market. These people are the coaches, the consultants, the trainers for all of our new partners who are coming on board. And they typically work with about 8 to 10 partners a quarter. Some of those are in their second quarter with that person. Some of them are brand new. So they typically have, again, 3 to 5 new partners, and then 3 to 5 partners that have been on board for a quarter or more. I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions about this, but again, this is the most important part of building a partner channel to be successful. So very simple, we have to gain this mind share of partners. When we have partners who only sell Intact, it's very easy to gain that mind share because they look at it and say, boy, if I don't sell something and implement it, I'm not going to get paid. For partners that sell existing products, we've got to gain that mind share. We've got to help them product education. We've got to help them with demand generation, building the lead generation of the pipeline. Got to help them with their website. And we've got to be attentive to their partner needs. One of the things that's great is today's time, our competitors are less and less responsive to their partners because there are fewer and fewer of them, and they've made partners less of a focus. And so what we're finding is that with our dedicated partner enablement folks, that we're building that mind share. One of the things that we did a couple of years ago was create a partner enablement roadmap, so that looking at the role on the left and then the authorization and qualifications, certifications that are required. So if you look here as a sales executive, I've got to go to the Intact onboarding series. I've got to go through the Intact sales process. I've got to go through the selling Intact class. Then I've got to go through Barry Ryan selling through Curiosity, and then I've got to go through the demo champion workshop. Some of these are delivered in person, some over the web, some one-to-one with a channel executive or a sales enablement executive. But once they're done with that, then they should be in a position to be graduated. So incredibly important, regardless of the type of channel program you have, to build this partner enablement roadmap. The other thing that is incredibly important is to help our partners understand our sales process. So this is a slide from probably 18 months ago that's been updated a couple times since then, but it's representative of a very simple sales process. The sales process for cloud is different than it is for on-premise. It's different because we're going to talk about things like security, availability, service level agreements, our buy with confidence. We're going to talk about customization. We're going to talk about configuration. We're going to talk about integration with other products. We're going to talk about total cost of ownership, return on investment, and the like. So there's a lot for a new salesperson to learn with our sales process. And of course, one of the things that we found is that partners that follow our sales process, and there's 31 different steps or requirements in that sales process, that they will come out significantly better with a higher close ratio if they follow it. Again, the same thing here. If we don't teach our partners how to focus on return on investment, no one gets up in the morning and says, boy, I'm really excited about spending X thousands of dollars on a new finance and accounting system. So it's incredibly important that our partners are versed in working with the prospect and together creating a compelling return on investment. And it certainly can't all be based on cutting costs. When you go in and say to people, hey, we'll save you money, people think that's great, but they don't like the idea of cutting jobs because of technology. So it's incredibly important that our partners are able to figure out how using Intact will bring in more revenue, will allow for a greater share of wallet with existing customers, will allow you to better serve even new customers. So this return on investment, coupled with the total cost of ownership, become absolutely critical for partners to go and master. While most of us use cloud products today and we're comfortable with paying subscription fees, many people in the accounting profession, as you might imagine, are want to control their data. They want to know where their data resides. They want and think that somehow having all those on-premise costs are better than having a larger cloud computing cost. So in any SaaS channel where you're competing with on-premises solutions, being able to understand the total cost of ownership becomes incredibly important. So we work on lots of training with our partners on this, lots of examples on helping them take prospects through it together. Again, if a partner takes and tells a prospect what their costs are going to be, then that's very likely that the prospect will dismiss it as salesperson fluff. So it's incredibly important that on both the return on investment and the total cost of ownership, that those are done hand in hand with the prospect. That's the only way they become believable. So let's talk about cloud partner economics, because this becomes a sticking point in many cases. When one of the things that Stell didn't mention in the introduction is prior to joining Intact and Deltek, I was head of channels at Sage for 10 years. I was also, prior to that, Sage's top partner in the world for 7 years in a row, and very familiar with the economics of on-premise solutions, with the products our partners might compete with. So the great news is that long-term cloud economics are very favorable for our business partners. That's because they get a fixed margin every year over the life of a customer, versus in the on-premise world where they get a high first-year margin and then typically 4%, 20% of 20%, 4% of the ongoing maintenance, where we're going to pay a much higher percentage for the long term. What that means is the firm will have higher value because we've created annuity. It's more bankable because the bank will feel less risk due to this ongoing revenue coming in, and it will be easier to sell the firm at a future point because of that annuity revenue. The great part for us is our partners make 2 times more money over 5 years and 4 times more money over 10 versus comparable on-prem solutions. But here's the rub. Partners that sell on-premise products in the first 12 months are going to make significantly more, and the crossover period doesn't happen until the first renewal. Now, the good part is accounting software is sticky. Most customers stay 5, 7, 10 or more years, but the problem with that is that partners in many cases are focused on that first year piece, and that leads to this challenge in getting over the first and second year chasm, especially when it comes to salespeople. So let's talk about that. Most of our partners have figured out that if they sell existing products, they need to maximize the cash flow from their on-premise portfolio to fund their movement into the cloud. This becomes incredibly important for them. So many of them raise their rates, many of them enforce support plans, many of them charge a different rate based on the version of the on-premise product they're supporting. Many of them, especially with customers that have been slow to pay, require cash up front. So what we're seeing from our best on-premise products, from our best on-premise partners who are picking up Intact, is that they are doing everything they can to maximize the cash flow and profitability from their existing on-premise customer base. But that notwithstanding, that helps the owner get through the year 1, 2 chasm, because if they can have the cash flow necessary to make it to the second year or the first renewal, then they're going to make significantly more than they would have ever made with a comparable on-premise product. But salespeople are salespeople. We say they're coin operated. They sell what they know. They certainly sell what they make the most money from. So cloud may be less profitable for them while being more profitable for the firm, depending on how they're compensated. So if I sell the same size deal in the on-premise world, the salesperson likely will get more revenue from that because the company got more revenue from that. that can prove problematic, as you might imagine. So a couple solutions. So we have one partner who pays like life insurance. So every year when that customer renews, the partner gets, the salesperson gets paid as if they'd sold it new. Now, the first year they get significantly more, a higher percentage of the total margin than they do in the outlying years, like years 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But what this amounts to is if I'm a great salesperson and I can build a book of business, and every year when a customer renews, I get paid, it can be very compelling. Big issue there is, how do I get over the chasm? Boy, you better be paying me a lot in year 1, because if I'm making less on a per deal basis, then that can be problematic. Some with great salespeople that have stayed there a long while are effectively loaning partners money from future years to make the first year more palatable. So I'm going to pay more, and then I'm going to take part of those outlying years in years 2, 3, 4, 5 back to repay some portion of that that first year higher pay rate. Many partners are paying on services. Traditionally in our industry, they've only paid on the margin of software. To get over that first year hump, they're paying on a small percentage on services. One thing we're also seeing in even our larger VARs is that many are going back to owner-based selling, where whatever their compensation is not based on how successful they are from a sales standpoint. So there are a lot of different ways to handle this, but again, because cloud margins tend to be recurring but less to begin with, there will be a salesperson margin chasm that you have to get over. That's one of the incredibly important parts as people move from on-premise solutions to cloud solutions, to make sure that they are as profitable and have as much free cash flow as they can. So what are some other issues in building this SaaS partner model? Well, there's a number that we think of. So number one is, what's the compensation model for a partner? In other words, I'm the publisher Intact. How do I pay the partner? Is it a recurring margin? Is it sliding scale? Is it forever? We see a wide variety across a number of industries and a number of our products that we integrate into our solution. Some of those products have a first-year margin and no other margin. It's almost like a finder's fee. Some have a first-year margin with a lower margin over years 2 and 3. Others, like Intact, has a margin for the life of the customer. As long as the customer renews and the partner's providing support, that partner is going to continue to get the margin. One of the things that we did was our margins forever, but as a partner, you still have to go meet agreed upon sales goals. What we didn't want is some partner to go sell 50 new deals, have an annuity of $1 million coming in every year, and not selling any new customers. So this compensation model for partners, if you're there on the vendor side, this becomes incredibly important, because when we take away anything from partners, they never forget. So we've got to get this right first, or be in a position to add to it, not subtract. One of the things that we have in our contract is we guarantee our partners margins for the life of the customer. So if I'm a partner and I go sell customer A and I get X margin, I will, as long as that customer renews, get the same margin for the life of the customer, regardless of whether Intact has changed my margin. And that went tremendously far in helping new partners get their head around how good the economics could be. Partner subcontracting services is always a big issue. Partners many times join, pick up a new product, and they're reluctant to invest in enough professional services skills on their own team to meet the demand. Or perhaps they're very, very successful immediately. How do they scale to meet the demand for implementation services? So we've spent a significant time working internally with our own professional services team to subcontract to partners at a reduced rate, but also creating certified consultants and the like out in our partner community that will then go and work for another partner when necessary, and in fact will be representing that partner. Typically has a email address at the partner who is the selling partner. Compensation models for those vendors with on-prem and cloud solutions. Boy, I'm thankful we don't have that, but that becomes incredibly complicated where a vendor has both an on-premise solution and a cloud solution. How do you go create those compensation models? Because you certainly want to make it attractive for partners to make the transition from on-prem to cloud, but yet it's got to, again, be sustainable. So a lot of different issues in building a SaaS partner model that often aren't thought about. So let's talk about what, about ready to get some questions. I've got some, hopefully some motivational slides that will help you really tell this story better. But here's some things that you really need to tell prospective partners. The transition to the cloud is inevitable. In our business, we're at 20-25% penetration with cloud accounting. By 2020, Gartner says that 70+% of the marketplace will be using a cloud solution. That's great news, but it's inevitable. So what we've told our on-premise partners that we're recruiting is that they have 18 months or less to start the transition. It takes a minimum of 18 months to 3 years to transform a firm from an on-premise based firm to a cloud firm. We've seen very few cases, probably less than half a dozen, where people have done that successfully in less than a year. And in most cases, that was because of a collapse in their on-premise business where they've transferred all the resources to the cloud, and they literally, it's a make or break sort of scenario. You know what? I think you have to shoot for at least 50% cloud and a cloud-first strategy. We struggle again with some partners who are content to selling fewer and fewer deals in the on-premise world, but yet because they have a very large existing customer base, they think that life's great. The analogy I use with those people when they say, I had my best year ever, and boy, cloud's never going to come, is, and that they're working so hard, the analogy is that you're bailing the Titanic with a thimble. Yes, you're incredibly tired, you're incredibly busy, but the ship is going down, and the sooner you figure out how to get off, it's incredibly important. Obviously, we've got to continue to service well our current customers, because that's where the cash flow is coming from. We also have to understand that the buying process has completely changed from the old days. Front office is less important, back office is less important than front office. Front office and back office integration are incredibly important. People are already 60% through the sales cycle when they contact you, so incredibly critical that you look at the new sales paradigm to best serve prospects. The bullet that I spend the most time with prospective partners and even new partners is the one that says, don't equate what you're hearing from current customers to what prospects will want. When somebody says that's selling Great Plains come to me and says, hey, you know what, we're not seeing a lot of demand for cloud, my answer is, well, of course not, because you don't sell a cloud product. So all those people that have a huge demand for cloud are going someplace else. They're going to your competitor who sells cloud. So when your existing customer says, nope, you know what, I'm not that interested in going to the cloud, that's great. That's the person who's not a candidate for selling cloud. But we very, very often hear partners say, well, there's no demand for cloud, and yet we point to the growth rate that we and other competitors have in this marketplace as pure example that they're not seeing the whole picture. We're finding that our partners that have a vertical focus are much more successful than those that don't. We're also finding, of course, and we just finished a 2-day marketing business building conference, that from a channel perspective and a channel partner success standpoint, that partner marketing, again, becomes as important as partner enablement. Most partners can figure these products out. They've sold other ones. They can learn to sell. They can learn to close business. They can learn to implement a product, take care of customers. But if they're not able to effectively market and create opportunities, then they won't be successful. So we're doubled down on partner enablement as well as channel marketing. So some takeaways here. Number one is, if you're going to build a cloud partner program, start with a blank sheet of paper. It may be harder in an on-premise world, but now's the chance to fix all the things that went wrong with your on-premise solution. When I started, I was fortunate enough to start with that blank piece of paper, and I went and looked at all the things that companies where I'd been and competitors had done correctly, and I also looked at all the things that they'd screwed up so that we weren't going to go compete with them. So one of the most important things we did was enforce deal registration. Partners don't want to compete against direct. They don't want to compete against other partners. So, we solved that problem. Partners didn't want geographies blanketed with partners. So we set goals and expectations of how many partners per geography they could expect, assuming that they were successful, and on and on. It's likely in today's time that there'll be a hybrid channel. There was a great article yesterday in Channel Economics saying that there is no such thing anymore as a pure channel. I would strongly encourage you to read it. So if you're going to have a hybrid channel, you got to have a strong rules of engagement. Ours changes on a quarterly basis as different scenarios come up. We append it to make sure that it remains a enforceable document that both the direct and partner channels understand. We've got a secret weapon, Stephanie Kleber, who reports to both the VP of Direct Sales and me. This is a person who's involved with sales enablement across both organizations so that whatever works for partners works for direct and vice versa, but more importantly so that any channel conflict is nipped very early in the process. I can't tell you how important, again, it is to rethink partner enablement. We've got lots of different learning environments today, from web-based to butts in seats to self-paced study. Partner enablement is the critical factor in partner success. When we go look at those partners that had the most success, they were the ones that got engaged the most quickly with our partner enablement team. They're the ones that looked at the graduation requirements and went to work diligently on them, and then immediately identified some early prospects and some early wins so that they could start building an intact practice. I'd also tell you to rethink your sales training. I was at a recent Gartner presentation on buying. Certainly left us speechless in terms of the way people buy today. There are many great presentations out there on the new buying paradigm. The one I will share with you that was very interesting is 7 short years ago, the average person, when they bought a car, went to 5 dealerships. Today, they go to 1.6 dealerships. I'm sure that's going to go further and further lower. People who are buying, in our case, accounting software, if they come to your website and it's not compelling, and you can't prove to them from the website that you have the expertise, the industry knowledge, and the track record to be successful, you'll never know who they were or that they were there to visit. I would tell you that on our team, we're working 60-hour weeks, taking vacation, which is great. We're 3.5+ years into this, but it's definitely a journey. We have like our product people, we have a channel roadmap of where we go year by year, what we add, the things that we do, whether they're from a certification standpoint, whether they're opening partner training centers, but we found that building a long-term 2 to 4 year channel roadmap, just like you would build a product roadmap, become incredibly important to being successful. So some quotes before we get to some questions. I love this one the most. Faced with having to change our views or prove that there's no need to do so, most of us get busy on the proof. And boy, we see that day in and day out in our own lives and certainly the lives of our partners. The primary reason we do not work at areas which we know we need to improve is that the rewards and pleasures are in the future. The disruption, discomfort, and discipline needed to get there are immediate. David Maister is the preeminent professional services firm consultant. He was an obese, unhealthy smoker. He did not work at the areas needed to improve, i.e. health, fitness, because the disruption, meaning he couldn't eat, smoke, drink, were immediate. It took a heart attack to get him to change. But this is incredibly important to understand that you have to work day to day at the things that are hard, even though there's discomfort. And then one we share with our partners on a regular basis, and very appropriate for on-premises partners. Change is hard because people overestimate the value of what they have and underestimate the value of what they may gain by giving that up. So, Estelle, how about some questions?
Fantastic, Taylor. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and your expertise and wealth of knowledge with us. And yes, we'll be opening it up for Q&A. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand using the raise hand button located in the GoToWebinar control panel. If at any time your question has already been answered, please lower your hand to remove yourself from the question queue. Please do remember, if you prefer to ask a question via chat, you may also do so by using the chat window located in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. In the meantime, we do have a couple of questions that just come through. First question we have is, what margin percent should I pay partners?
So boy, Stell, great question, and certainly the hardest one. I would go back to the slide that showed the different levels of engagement from Partner Path. For instance, I once talked to a company about a channel job where they were involved with security. The partner would go out to somebody they knew or a prospect and say, hey, boy, you need cloud-based security. The prospect said, great, how do I do it? And the answer was they clicked on a link for every user, every machine, and at that point they were protected. So the margin you would pay on that might be a one-time referral fee as opposed to an ongoing fee because the partner involvement was low. So the answer is that the margin should vary like that diagram to the involvement of the partner, the complexity of the sale, and then the ongoing relationship with the partner. If a partner has a one-time referral fee or goes in and sells it but doesn't do a whole lot, then one-time fee or a larger first-year fee with a sliding scale. 20% is the number we see, followed by maybe a couple of years at 10%, all the way to the top right-hand corner of that slide where the margins might be 30 to 40% on an ongoing basis.
Thanks so much, Taylor. That's excellent. Another question that's come through is, what is a good number of partners to cover and manage for one partner manager?
Boy, that's something that we study all the time. So we have close to 100 partners, and we've got 8 channel executives who manage those. So the ratio for most of those is somewhere between 8 and 12. If not all of those partners are productive, not all of those partners are as busy as others. If all of those people were super productive, it might be on the lower end of 8. We've been as high as 15, but somewhere in that range becomes important. I think you can do some finagling that helps you, and certainly one of the things that we're looking at, which is to put a person at our corporate office that is dealing with all the partners that are less successful, so that instead of having a local resource or somebody who's senior, they deal with somebody until they get their act together. They deal with somebody who's managing multiple partners. One of the things that we committed to our partners that was a little bit different is that we told them that we would be deauthorizing 5 to 10% of the partners every year. So we do not want to get a bottom-heavy channel where we have more than 10 or 15% of our partners who are not as productive as other partners. So we continue to cull out those partners that are not being successful. We sit down with them and have that discussion in a very forthright and transparent manner. If they really want to fight for it and they really want to renew, we will certainly let them, but we put them on a probationary status.
Excellent. I think this ties in nicely with the next question, which is, if you have a channel that has been loyal and effective, but your business model is moving away from the line of business, how much time do you give that channel to adapt, change, or do you just rip off the Band-Aid and move on?
Interesting question. I think it depends on if you are moving those people to a product that dovetails with the other products. So let's say Great Plains was selling Great Plains and they come now with Great Plains Cloud. It would be natural to let those people transition and give them time. If there isn't such a normal transition, then I'd probably give them less time. Here's the most important part, is you can't let partners stay in your partner ecosystem that aren't selling new business. So if you have partners in the old world that are collecting maintenance money but are not selling new business, then to come into my cloud program, I would require them to meet certain sales goals. So one of the most important things we did in what we call our Channel 3.0 philosophy, that includes things like limited number of partners, only bringing on a very smaller group of elite and exclusive partners, enforced deal registration and the like, is partners have to meet agreed upon sales goals. So I think you can rip the Band-Aid off more quickly if you, as you bring people into a new program to have agreed upon sales goals.
Thanks, Taylor. That's brilliant. Another question that's come through is, what is the loyalty level of cloud partners versus on-prem partners? Isn't it easier for them to switch to a competitor?
So the only one I can talk about is ours. So if you're a successful Intact partner and you've built up a multi-$100,000 or more annuity every year, you're going to be incredibly loyal. So because we pay our partners every year based on what they sold, we had an example at our marketing business building conference of a partner that sold a small deal, $9,000, and they got a nice margin for that. But the next renewal was $29,000, so they made a bunch of money. The third renewal or second renewal was $89,000, so they made a ton of money. So that builds customer loyalty. Paying people as a life insurance person would, salesperson or partner, builds incredible loyalty because they build a book of business with Intact that they don't want to see taken away.
Excellent. Another one that's come through is, what are the major skill set differences between SaaS and on-premise resellers?
Well, I think that the most important differences come in the sales piece. In other words, implementation of our products is not substantially different than what our on-premise partners might be doing with a competitive product. They are different. The product's different, it's delivered differently, but it's still accounting software. In our case, the biggest difference is the sales cycle. So there's this new sales paradigm that I've spoken about where people are coming into sales cycles at a much deeper level. And, the way you can prove yourself for those in the audience is if you bought a car or a large purchase, large screen TV, when you go into a showroom, Best Buy, Amazon, car dealer, you are much better prepared typically than the salesperson. You know more about it. You know what the best prices are. You know what people, the good and the bad are, and you're looking for somebody who is extremely educated to help guide you to a solution. So that new sales paradigm is incredibly important to master. But then, again, as I mentioned in a number of slides, return on investment, total cost of ownership. selling with mutually agreed upon closing plans. So the biggest change for most partners that we've seen is that they think that the same way that they used to do it would work today, and it doesn't.
Brilliant. We've got some more questions coming through, so I think the conversation is going. Yeah. Another question is, if you were building a new channel and you were starting with a blank sheet of paper, what's the number one attribute you would look for in a new partner?
Well, I think that's simple. It's somebody who is truly going to be engaged with you, and that the success of selling your product is meaningful to their company and to their personal bottom line. Our most successful partners when we started with a clean sheet of paper are those people who that their success with Intact was important to them at both a professional and a personal level. We just finished our President's Club event this past week in San Francisco, had a dozen partners there, and the partnership that they feel with Intact and the economics that they feel with Intact came through loud and clear. So you've got to find partners that really want to be successful, that have drive and ambition. I like to joke that I recently got a patent on losing weight. People always say, well, no kidding. I said, yeah. Nobody had ever patented how to lose weight. And the answer is eat less and exercise more. And we see people who figure that out and have the discipline to lose weight and to have the weight stay off. But we see time and time again people who only make a short-term change. So we're looking for partners that are, we describe it as being all in. They're focusing every bit of their resources on being successful with Intact.
Fantastic. More questions coming in. What do partners think about the vendor when they're also selling directly? How to avoid the partner so that they look at the vendor as a competitor? So
I worked obviously as a partner and worked in organizations that were partner only, and this was my biggest hesitation. We solved that problem a number of ways. The first way you solve it is with deal registration. So a partner registers a lead. They're the only person that can sell it. If one of our direct salespeople calls on that lead, they get fired. The second piece is our direct salespeople get paid when partners close deals in their territory. So the direct people are very excited about engaging with our partners. And we tell our partners, if you want our direct channel to shrink, then you need to sell more. The size of our direct channel is directly proportionate to how much success they are. So when I got here, it was less than 5% of the new business. We're at 45% after 3+ years. I would imagine in 2 more years we'll be at 60-65%. So the goal of Intact is to be a channel majority or super majority driven. But you've got to have a very detailed rules of engagement. You've got to have enforced deal registration. If you don't, then you'll be in the Wild West and it will never work.
Taylor, thank you so much. That was absolutely wonderful. It looks like we have just about run out of time.
Yeah.
And that was fantastic. And so we've also just finished up all the questions. So a very, very big thank you to you, Taylor. Thank you so much for your expertise and your wealth of knowledge. It was fantastic. Really appreciate your time today.
And if anybody has any further questions, T. McDonald, MacDonald, at intact.com. Be happy to help any of our listeners today.
Oh, brilliant. What I'll do is just everyone on the call, we'll be sending you a follow-up email tomorrow, so do take a look out for that. We'll have the link to the PDF site and the recording, and Taylor, I'll pop your details in there as well.
Thank you so much.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.